I want to remind you that your words matter, and this is somebody's business and their livelihood.
Hi, Kurtzlings! Today, we are continuing our coverage of the Queen of Afternoon Tea versus the Cupcake Cafe. Now, when we left off, Queenie's September 22nd review of the Cupcake Cafe had gone viral, netting, at the time of this recording, 7.8 million views and counting. And with that viral sensation came a slew of hate angled at the Cupcake Cafe in Burlington, Ontario, including a volley of fake one-star reviews, like these ones. In response to the growing backlash, the Cupcake Cafe, in my opinion, made the reckless decision to post a video addressing the Queen of Afternoon Tea's review. This would prove to be a bad idea, resulting in the Cupcake Cafe scrubbing most of their TikTok addressing the hate and Queenie's review by the end of Canadian Thanksgiving, but not before the internet and its voracious appetite for drama had sunk their teeth in. So let's get out our chompers and pour some tea, shall we? Now, in the Cupcake Cafe's response, the owner and self-styled serial entrepreneur, Bisma Bhatti.
I'm Bisma Bhatti, serial entrepreneur, owner of the Cupcake Cafe, and on-air dessert and entertainment expert.
Kicked things off with a bombshell allegation. According to Bisma, the Queen of Afternoon Tea is actually the owner of the Queen of Hearts Tea Room and Cafe in Kitchener-Waterloo, flashing her evidence of this, screenshots from a seeming blog post to support her claim.
It was actually posted by a competing business in Kitchener, which honestly made the entire situation laughable.
In fact, our serial entrepreneur would all but accuse the Queen of Afternoon Tea and Queen of Hearts Tea Room for the hate, false one-star reviews, and alleged death threats that she had received since Queenie's review came out.
Now, what's not laughable is getting your friends and followers to send us hundreds of one-star reviews, nasty emails, and DMs telling us to go kill ourselves. That, never okay.
All of which she used to justify her unmasking of Queenie's identity. Or is it attempted dethroning? With her accusation out of the way, Bisma moved on to Queenie's criticisms, addressing some of them, not all, in a way that screamed defensive.
But let me start off by saying that we take our reviews really seriously. I said in my stories yesterday that all of our reviews, whether they be good or bad, I take as an opportunity for feedback and improvement.
As her body language and general attitude throughout this video did nothing for her public image or to assuage people's feelings on the matter. Because if this is how she responds to criticism, or even confrontation, I can only imagine what it's like to work for her. In fact, I may already have an idea of what that might be like, because when I dug through the Cupcake Cafe's Google reviews, I noticed a trend in a handful of responses to reviews that criticized their baked goods. In each of these examples, our serial entrepreneur blamed her baker for the subpar quality of her cupcakes. For example, in response to this review from 4 months ago, she wrote, "The last 3 weeks have been very difficult as we just fired one of our bakers," adding, in parentheses for some reason, yesterday. How convenient. Who was altering our recipes and baking procedures. This led to our cupcakes and frostings not being baked to our standards or taste over the last weeks. Adding, "It seems you got the last bit of a frosting batch she made, and for that, I apologize profusely." But not profusely enough to pull the low quality items after you fired your baker, though. Got it. She would reply to another review from this same time period with, "I take this feedback very seriously, and we actually just let one of our bakers go today." Wait, hold up. One of your bakers? So there are multiple bakers. Yet you only fired one and then blamed her for everything. Also noted, we noticed the quality and taste of our cupcakes had changed since hiring this person a few weeks ago, and we are committed to returning back to excellence. My loves, these reviews are from around July. Queenie's review was in September. Now, I'm not a rocket appliance, but it would seem that firing her baker didn't fix the problem after all. Also, if you've noticed a decline in quality and allow it to continue for several weeks, that's a failing on your part, not just theirs. As in this review from 5 months ago, so June, someone complained about the cupcakes being too sweet, and Bisma replied, "We just hired a new baker, and we've been working on frostings with her. We use honey instead of sugar, so it's less sweet." Honey is not less sweet than sugar, BT dubs. It's actually the opposite, but okay. But, she continues, this is the second review we've received since she's been baking, so it's something I'll make sure we fix ASAP. Boom, boom. Did you hear that, curselings? That's the sound of Bisma Bhatti throwing her new hire under the bus to her customers on this here, the World Wide Web. What? That is a big professional no-no. Yikes. Also, given that the Cupcake Cafe received other reviews that she contributed to that baker weeks after this one, it isn't exactly the as soon as possible that she promised, now is it? Not to mention that it sounds to me like she hired a novice baker, which again means the blame falls on her, the owner. And we know that she hires green people because she's talked about training an intern in this recent Instagram post. In other words, she's getting what she's paying for, as experience tends to equal more money when it comes to payroll. But I am speculating here. Who knows why the previous baker was struggling with her recipes, because they're Bisma's recipes. Regardless, these responses, at least to me, show a pattern of behavior by the Cupcake Cafe when it comes to criticism, which unfortunately is on full unflattering display in this response video, as Bisma Bhatti proceeds to blame her staff, shocker, for Queenie's experience as well as Queenie directly, cherry-picking which parts of her review to address to save face, I guess? I'll let you guys decide. Beginning with the clotted cream and jam, where Bisma explained that the wrong serving dishes were used, no big deal.
Now, normally when we serve our jam and scones for one, we serve it in the smaller white dishes that you saw in the video. When there is 2 or more people, we always serve them in slightly larger gold dishes, which, as you couldn't see, were not in the video. That was our mistake. The person who was prepping it must have forgotten and didn't give the right amount of cream or jam.
Adding snarkily that Queenie could have easily asked for more cream and jam.
Either way, it's okay. It was a small mistake, and you can always ask for more cream and jam. That's what I don't understand.
Now, in my previous video, I had also wondered why Queenie didn't just ask for more. My original thought, when I first watched her review, was that maybe the cafe staff had given her the impression that she'd be declined or she would get attitude if she asked. Because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like attitude's probably a thing here. So Queenie sidestepped the problem and asked for butter instead. However, as I was researching and editing my last video, I stumbled across the Queen of Afternoon Tea's YouTube channel, where in this review of the Windsor Arms Hotel, Queenie said that she and her guest also enjoy lots of butter on their scones.
The scones were served with a shared trio of accompaniments, a peach compote, a berry compote, and a house-made cream mixture. There wasn't enough cream for our liking, and we love butter, so we asked for some of that too and got a huge bowl of it.
So this love of butter probably explains why Queenie requested it over more clotted cream in her review. Not that it makes her comments about the insufficient amount of cream and jam any less valid.
It was certainly nice to see real clotted cream being served here, albeit there was not enough to cover our scones.
As even Bisma admits here that the wrong serving size was given.
That was our mistake. The person who was prepping it must have forgotten and didn't give the right amount of cream or jam.
And frankly, she shouldn't have to ask. It should just be automatic. Bisma then touched on to the contentious chocolate dip strawberry, aka low effort garbage dessert, in my opinion anyway.
The second thing in this video is, yes, the chocolate dip strawberry was missing from their top tier.
this is where things get a little juicy, because Bisma claims that the Queen of Afternoon Tea was told about the missing strawberry when she received her food, and that they were offered a substitution.
And when we served the tea, the staff member who was serving it kindly asked the guests if they would like a replacement for the chocolate dipped strawberry.
Now, if you remember, Queenie said that no one mentioned the missing strawberry when they received their food.
And if you recall the menu posted from earlier, there was supposed to be a chocolate-covered strawberry here too, which was missing.
And then it wasn't until Queenie got up to inquire about the missing strawberry that a staff member told her that they had substituted it with extra savory items, which turned out to be a lie, as they had received the amount advertised on the menu.
We were told we were given an extra savory substitution for the missing strawberry, which wasn't true because we were served the savories as per the menu.
Yet, the owner of the Cupcake Cafe is now contradicting that version of the story, claiming instead that her staff actually offered a replacement when the food was delivered and that Queenie and her guests declined politely.
And they actually politely declined.
Someone is lying here. The question is, who? My gut says the Cupcake Cafe, as the owner would later say in a separate post that they had even offered to substitute the strawberry with a cupcake. However, offering to replace a missing item that you advertised as being part of the menu isn't the same as replacing it, as the menu for their afternoon tea services offers 3 dessert items. So, in my mind, if you are out of one of those items, that substitution should be automatic, shouldn't it? And then explained when the food is brought out, rather than brought out and then offered. Yet, in the owner's version of events, responsibility and subsequent blame is placed onto the customer, in this case, Queenie. Basically, she's saying, we would have done it if they wanted us to. Instead of just doing it automatically and then changing it if the customer was unhappy with the replacement item, like a normal business would do. Not to mention that in Queenie's version of events, staff claim to have already automatically replaced the strawberries with a savory item, even if it was a bold-faced lie, according to Queenie. So things aren't lining up here, which is why I find it interesting, if not a little amusing, when the owner said this.
Again, quality is really important for us and we're open and transparent with our clients, so if something is ever not perfect, we just tell them and we hope they'll be understanding and accept a substitution.
As to why the strawberry was missing in the first place, the owner alleges that the strawberries that they received the night before had gone off by the following morning.
Now, in the morning when we were looking at the strawberries that we had purchased just the night before, we noticed that they weren't in perfect health and condition. You know, sometimes strawberries can kind of start to get mushy and turn overnight.
Now, I don't know that much about Burlington's produce suppliers, but I do know that strawberries can last up to 5 days in the fridge when stored properly.
So we decided not to serve it because quality and freshness is important to us, despite what the video may say.
I also know that Ontario and Quebec has a lot of berry farms, including the greenhouse variety, with many strawberry farms in around the Burlington and Hamilton area. So, in my mind, getting fresh strawberries in September shouldn't be that difficult, especially if they were stored properly. Instead, one of 3 things seems to have happened here. 1, our serial entrepreneur needs a new supplier, probably. 2, she sourced her berries from a grocery store, which do tend to have a shorter lifespan. And or 3, her business doesn't know how to store strawberries properly, which presumably is covered in the Ontario Food Handler Training and Certification course. Now, given that we know that the Cupcake Cafe has interns and probably hires novice bakers, I could definitely see all of these being a possible explanation. I also find it interesting that they're making chocolate dipped strawberries day of and not as soon as they received the berries the night before, as chocolate covered strawberries typically stay fresh for about 48 hours, provided, that they're stored properly to prevent sweating. So again, something about this just feels off to me. Then we get to the stale bread, which Bisma refers to as a concept.
Now, addressing the whole stale bread concept.
I didn't know that you could eat a concept, but okay.
That was obviously totally inaccurate.
Going so far as to boldly assert that her conceptual bread wasn't stale at all, and that she could prove it with this tiny unreadable receipt. Take that, haters.
Here's actually the receipt of the bread that was purchased that very morning. So
apparently, the day of Queenie's visit to her cafe, they'd received a bread order from their supplier.
you can't get stale bread that's been purchased that day.
Of course, at no point did our serial entrepreneur provide a close-up of that receipt, which, if she was telling the truth, she would have had no problem doing since she's so committed to being open and transparent.
And we're open and transparent with our clients.
So that's us. Also, I didn't know that suppliers provided small receipts like that. Every supplier I ever dealt with when I worked in a cafe always included an itemized computer printout with their delivery, including orders from local bakeries. So, weird. Maybe suppliers are different in Burlington? Then there's the fact that not all the breads used by the Cupcake Cafe are purchased from an external source, like the croissants, which are apparently baked in-house. So at a minimum, we're bending the truth a little here, if not outright lying. Whatever the case, Bisma Bhatti presented this alleged bread receipt like it was a smoking gun, adding smugly that if the bread was somehow stale, and I want you to take note of how she looks away from the camera as she says this, then it would be something she'd need to take up with her conceptual supplier, because obviously they wouldn't deliver stale conceptual bread.
If it was indeed stale, which it was not, that's something that we're going to have to take up with our suppliers, because you can't get stale bread that's been purchased that day.
What I don't understand about this part, though, is why the owner would say Queenie was lying about the bread quality, because the bread looked unappetizing in her review, so why not just own up to it? Why not just say, yeah, the bread was not at our normal level that day, we're sorry. I don't know. It's just such an odd thing to try and defend without making it 100% definitive, like showing the actual receipt with the dates, as I believe Queenie went to the Cupcake Cafe on like September 20th or 21st. Or by taking us into the kitchen and showing us her bread supply and the dates to prove freshness. But she didn't do that. This was the best she could do to prove Queenie was lying, which is flaccid at best. Then again, we are talking about someone who allowed poor quality product to stay in stock, like the cupcakes. So I think the reason she didn't show us the proof is because Queenie's review was accurate, which might be why Bisma then stated that everything else in the Queen of Afternoon Tea's video boiled down to opinion.
Aside from that, everything else in that video was kind of just a matter of opinion.
Yeah. That's kind of how reviews work. They're opinions that are formed based on your experience of something. But maybe that concept needs to bake a little longer, I don't know. It doesn't matter anyway, though, because Bisma Bhatti then reasserts that Queenie's review was actually just another rival business trying to slander hers.
And again, another business just trying to slander another business.
And to support that claim, our serial entrepreneur used her positive relationship with tea at the White House in Waterdown as an example of how businesses should support each other, in her opinion anyway.
Which is something that I don't quite understand, because with our tea, for example, Andrew, who's the owner-operator of Tea at the White House, which is about 15 minutes away, probably even less, him and I, technically speaking, have competing businesses, but we have always supported each other, and in fact, we purchase all of our teas from Andrew at Tea at the White House.
Which I'm sure the owner was thrilled to get pulled into this nonsense, BT dubs.
So that's just proof that two businesses can, coexist in the same space, minutes apart from each other, and we're equally as supportive of each other's businesses. We both have thriving businesses and our own clientele, and we share a lot of the same clientele, and that's okay. There's more than enough room to go around.
Now, I went ahead and Googled Tea at the White House in Waterdown, Ontario, which is north of Burlington, and I gotta say, it looks really good. They sell tea, jams, clotted cream, shortbread, and other goods. Their tea selection includes descriptions and ingredients, something that the Cupcake Cafe was criticized for in my last video. They charge $45 a person for their White House afternoon tea, $10 less than the Cupcake Cafe. They make their own jam using fresh produce from local farms like these pink currants and these raspberries. They bake their own scones and even have bagels. Yes, I know I say it weird, shush. Shipped from Montreal, from Saint Viateur, which is the best place to get Montreal-style bagels. And all of their sweets look excellent. I would 1000% go here. In fact, even the Queen of Afternoon Tea has been there, as several of the photos I just showed you, as well as others, have been liked by Queenie's Instagram. She even went to Tea at the White House and gave them a 4.5 out of 5 stars on her TikTok.
This tea room ranks within the top 5 of all tea rooms in Ontario, according to me. Therefore, my Queen of Afternoon Tea rating is 4.5 out of 5 stars, almost perfect.
So automatically, if Queenie's review of the Cupcake Cafe was done out of spite or jealousy to harm a rival business like Bisma Bhatti claims,
And again, another business just trying to slander another business.
then how come she gave Tea at the White House a good review? Aren't they also competition for the Queen of Hearts in Kitchener by Bisma's own logic? Keep in mind, that's ignoring the fact that the Queen of Hearts tea room is in Kitchener-Waterloo, which is an hour away from Burlington. They're not even in the same city, let alone the same postal code. So how exactly is the Queen of Hearts a direct competitor to the Cupcake Cafe? It's not. So yeah. After all of that, our serial entrepreneur would take some time in this video to address the hate, death threats, and false one-star reviews.
Now, what I do really want to take the time to address, which is the more serious part of this video, is all of the online threats, DMs, and one-star reviews that we've been getting from people who have never ever even set foot into our cafe, nor have they ever tried any of our desserts. And that's just not fair.
Which she used as an opportunity to raise awareness about online bullying while providing mental health resources.
And on a deeper and more serious level, threats to our staff and to me and to family are absolutely inexcusable. Beyond that, telling somebody to go kill themselves and bullying them online is never okay. And if you're going through something like this, whether it's on social media or in real life, we're going to post some resources below in the caption that you can reach out to, because there is help available.
Now, up front, I agree with her on this part. I don't think anyone should be review bombed, nor do I think anyone deserves to be harassed or threatened, full stop. And I certainly do not encourage anyone watching these videos to harass the Cupcake Cafe. However, if you do happen to go, you got to tell me how it was. I really want to know, so please let me know. So on this front, I do agree with Bisma. And on the surface, it definitely seems like a noble message to send in the wake of Queenie's review going viral. However, Bisma Bhatti is also using that mental health awareness and virtue signaling as a cover, while she calls out someone that she believes to be a rival business owner, making this, in my opinion, into a very transparent attempt to redirect that hate. Surely, someone as healed as our serial entrepreneur claims to be.
As someone who suffered from depression and mental health issues for most of my childhood and some of my adult life, I've been through tons of therapy to help me develop coping strategies to deal with these types of things. So when I have internet trolls coming at me to tell me to try to kill myself, for me, luckily, I've done the work now where it's not as triggering.
Would take into account that accusing the Queen of Afternoon Tea of trying to harm her business could and likely would push that hate back onto Queenie.
I want to remind you that your words matter, and this is somebody's business and their livelihood.
Which I believe was her true intentions with this video, as she will end it by saying that she hopes people will see Queenie's review for what it really is. Another business making up lies to harm her business because jealousy or something.
And I hope you're able to see this video for what it truly is, just a competing business who was clearly very upset that we were doing well and decided to attack me and make up some untrue things about our high tea.
Which really feels like the pot calling the kettle black here. So, understandably, the internet found this video response to be dissatisfactory, resulting in Bisma Bhatti releasing 5 additional posts on the subject before taking most of it down from TikTok. Bisma's claims that the Queen of Afternoon Tea was actually a rival business owner would also spark a debate among those who had been following this story, with many wondering whether it is even ethical for a business owner to run a seemingly anonymous social media account to make reviews of other businesses. Bisma's allegations allegations about Queenie's identity were also controversial for other reasons, as many also felt like the Cupcake Cafe had attempted to dox the Queen of Afternoon Tea to get back at her. All of which we will pick back up in part 3. Yes, I know, but we still have a lot to go over, and the script is already 9 pages long of prose. However, I will leave you with one final thought, or question, regarding the Cupcake Cafe's motivation behind this video response. If the Queen of Afternoon Tea's review was nothing more than a jealous rival business trying to harm the Cupcake Cafe like Bisma Bhatti claims, then how come the Cupcake Cafe invited her to review their afternoon tea back in April? Yeah, the plot thickens. Anyway, that's it for me. I want to thank everyone for liking, commenting, and subscribing, with a big thank you to my mods and members. As always, you guys are rad, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!